All right, finally, this is the day we start reading and discussing the Constitution. And it's gonna take us several weeks. Yesterday, we looked at all the good reasons why it's important to know the Constitution, because it is possible to lose our freedoms if we're ignorant and don't know the limitations on our government leaders' powers. It'd be too easy for them to overstep their powers and become tyrants. So today's the day we start. Today we're gonna discuss the preamble. We're gonna read and discuss the preamble. That's the introduction, right? Then Monday, we'll begin on Article 1. But today's the preamble, the introduction to the Constitution. The first famous 3 words, all right? We the people, that are on the original calligraphy copy, which by the way is, we still have it. It's on display at the National Archives right next to that Declaration of Independence. The original Bill of Rights is there as well. All right, these first 3 words, we the people, we hold these words very dear to us. These are important to us. Even the founders on that original calligraphy copy made them big letters and fancy letters to remind us forever that we the people run this country. Some people even get tattoos of we the people. I'm not a big fan of tattoos. My son has tattoos. I don't like tattoos. But if I ever did get one, it would say we the people. I'm not gonna get one now. Because we run this country. That's what reminds us of that. That's unique. The world had never seen a government where the people were in charge of the officials, the government officials. Yeah, they have power over us, but only because we gave it to them, right? They're nothing special. And their powers are limited by what's written in the Constitution. And they exist to serve us. We don't serve them. See, King George III, he had all the power. He thought all the colonists were here to serve him. Well, when we set up our own government, we didn't make that mistake. We set up a government where they serve us. So everyone in our government are public servants. From police officers to the President of the United States and everybody else. They are there to serve us. You might put it this way. They work for us. We don't work for them. We're their boss. They're not our boss. Well, they have power over us, but that power's limited. Now, when I say they work for us, we're their boss, not us individually, not me individually or you individually, but we the people collectively, right? Run the country. Those people in the government are there to serve us. Reminds me of something I saw on the news earlier this year. Joe Biden, who's running for president, right? Was at a campaign event. I think it was a factory somewhere. He was talking to some factory workers, just everyday Americans. And him and one of the factory workers got into kind of a little bit of a heated exchange about one of the issues of the day. And they were going back and forth, and they were getting a little bit hot, and finally, Joe Biden said, "Hey man, I don't work for you." Oops. And that regular citizen reminded him, if you become president, you do. All right, that's the whole point of our government officials, is they're public servants. We the people are in charge of our country. All right, first 3 words. So let's go ahead and look at the preamble. We're going to read it, dissect it a little bit, figure out what it's all about. We'll read to the first comma. Remember, the preamble is just one big long sentence with a whole bunch of commas? That whole introduction, the whole preamble is one sentence. So here we go. We the people of the United States. That's us, right? We are the people. We're talking about Americans, American citizens. That's who we the people are. After that, we're going to outline, or list, I should say, the 6 purposes of our government. Now let that sink in, what we mean by that. Our our government has 6 things they're gonna set out to do. This Constitution is gonna try to accomplish these 6 things. These are the only 6 things our government's supposed to be doing. Where does it say that? In the very first sentence of the Constitution. There's 6 purposes to our government that we, the people, expect them to do. Alright, so let's look at them one at a time. We, the people of the United States, in order to do what? Well, first one, form a more perfect union. The union is our country, right? Is our country perfect? Was it ever perfect? Will it ever be perfect? No. That's not possible, is it? So they didn't say to form a perfect union. They said to form a more perfect union. That's a noble goal, isn't it? We want our country to be as good as we can make it. Is there always room for improvement? Yeah, we can always make our country better. And the Constitution is going to tell us how to do that. There's a way to make changes and make things better. I think it's pretty clear that in many ways, our country is more perfect than it was when we started. My opinion might be some other ways we're a little less perfect, but whatever, there's always room for improvement, right? Any questions on that purpose? All right, the next one. To understand grammar, you can start the sentence over. We, the people of the United States, in order to establish justice. Establish means set up, right? Justice, simple word is fairness. Don't you want to live in a country that's fair? Yeah, because the opposite would be to live in a country that's not fair. All right, I'm going to say something, and I think if you wrestle with this concept, you think it through, maybe not in class today, but you think about this, I think you'll get it. Without justice, there's no freedom. And without freedom, there's no justice. We have to have justice. It's our government's job. It's one of their purposes is to establish justice. Here's a better definition of justice. That means if someone does what is right, they should be rewarded for that. That would be fair, wouldn't it? And the rest of that is if someone does what is wrong, they should be what? Punished for that. That's justice. That's not harsh. That's not mean. That's justice. If someone does something wrong, they should be punished. That doesn't mean they can't be forgiven. Right? They can be punished and forgiven. That's what your parents do to you, right? You do something wrong, they punish you. They make you feel the pain one way or the other, but they forgive you. Right? Well, as a country, our government needs to punish those who do wrong. Yeah, we can forgive them, but not until they're punished. They have to pay the price for doing wrong. And the reason for that is simple. When someone does something wrong, what does that mean? That means someone else was wronged. There was a victim. So for justice demands, fairness demands that the person who was victimized, they deserve justice. And that means the person who victimized them, who did wrong, needs to be punished. Can't just say, don't worry about it. Forget about it, I'll forgive you. That's not justice. They need to be punished. We can forgive them, but they need to pay the price. Right? Because think of the opposite. What if do you want to live in a country where those who do right get punished? No, that's not fair. Or listen to this, do you want to live in a country where those who do wrong get rewarded? No. Remember what I said? Without justice, there is no freedom. Without freedom, there's no justice. It's our government's job to establish justice, make sure that wrongdoers are punished. And the Constitution is going to spell out how we do that. Now remember, it's kinda hard to talk about the Constitution sometimes without bringing up current events, right? 2020's been kinda weird, and there's some things that are making a lot of we the people very upset when we look at the news. Cause we know it's our government's job to establish justice, and in some parts of our country, the government isn't doing that part of their job. There's wrongdoers who aren't getting punished. And there's people who are doing what's right that are getting punished. Just one example that comes to mind, recently, Kenosha, Wisconsin, 17-year-old boy, the government was not protecting the community. The police were just standing by while rioters and looters were stealing and burning and destroying businesses. The police wasn't doing their job, so some of we the people, including a 17-year-old boy who brought his rifle, decided to help his friend defend his business. And in the chaos of that riot that night, some people tried to kill him. He shot them. A couple of them died. One of them he wounded. The one he wounded had pulled a gun on him, but he shot the guy in the arm before he had a chance to shoot him. Or the bad guy had a chance to shoot the 17-year-old. Well, the guy who pulled the gun has not been arrested, the guy who's been shot. The kid who was defending himself has been arrested. That's backwards, isn't it? That's an example of someone who's doing what's right, getting punished, and someone who is doing what's wrong, not getting punished. That's the lack of justice. That's injustice. We can't have that, because without justice, there's no freedom. Now, it hopefully will sort itself out as time goes on, because we do, in the United States, we have the best justice system in the world. It's not perfect, but we have a great justice system. We'll see when we get to the Bill of Rights how our justice system is set up. It's really good. Now, it's not perfect, because sometimes people who do wrong get away with it and they don't get punished. And we don't like that. But there's one thing we hate even worse, and that is innocent people getting punished. Trust me, you hate that worse. I can prove it. Pretend you're the innocent person getting punished. That's not okay, is it? So we go to great pains as a country to make sure that innocent people don't get punished, even if it means sometimes guilty people go unpunished. As much as we hate that, we live with that, because it's not as bad as somebody didn't do anything wrong getting punished. We want to establish justice. Any questions on that one? All right, next purpose. Again, start over. We, the people of the United States, in order to ensure domestic tranquility. Ensure just means make sure. Domestic means here within our own country. Tranquility means peace. Tranquil is peace. In other words, it's not our government's job to make sure that the whole world is peaceful, but it is our government's job to make sure that here within our country we have a peaceful society. Don't you want to live in a society or a community where things are peaceful, not out of control or chaotic? For the most part, we do as Americans, right? We go here and there, go to school, go to work. Nobody interferes with us, right? We don't have to be afraid of being hurt, right? We have, generally, we enjoy domestic tranquility. But one of those things that we see on the news that's so disturbing to many of we the people is not all Americans are enjoying that, right? How about the people who live in those cities that there's seems like never-ending riots? I'm not talking about the rioters and the looters. I mean, they need to be brought to justice. I'm talking about the regular, everyday, good American people who are living there and can't go to work because someone's going to try to block the road, right? Or whatever. That's not domestic tranquility, is it? That's not peace. or they're afraid to go to their house, or they can't go to the store where they go shopping because it got burned down. Right? Or they're afraid to send their kids out to play in the neighborhood because there's definitely not a peaceful community in some places. That's what makes so many of we the people mad, because we understand if it can happen in that town or that community, it could happen in our community, couldn't it? So that's upsetting. It's our government's job to ensure domestic tranquility. Now, again, we're not talking about protesters. Protesting's fine. We all have that right. We'll talk about that one in the Bill of Rights. That's in the very first amendment. Not only as an American, not only do you have a right to your opinion, you have a right to voice your opinion. Let everyone, including the government, know what you think. That's fine. But you gotta do it peacefully. You can't block roads and make people late for work. That's not peaceful. You can't destroy property and burn down businesses, right? You can't go hurt people because they disagree with you, right? That's not peaceful. That's not domestic tranquility. It's our government's job to ensure that. Any questions on that one? All right, here we go. Next one. We the people of the United States, in order to provide for the common defense. Defense means defending our country. Common, where we get the word community from. Defend our country from outside threats. People who would attack us, try to take away our freedoms, our way of life. Nowadays, that might be terrorists, right? Like on 9/11. Government dropped the ball on that one, right? They failed to provide for the common defense. All right, look. That's their job, right? Because you can't do that individually, I can't do that. I can't protect myself or my family from terrorist attacks. I can't protect myself or my family from another country shooting a nuclear weapon at America, right? We need the government to do that. It's their job to provide for the common defense. And of course, I think you know how they do that, right? We have a military to do just that. Defend us from enemies. The Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, the Coast Guard. Now there's a new one, right? A new branch of the military just this year. Anybody know what it is? Just established it. The Space Force, United States Space Force. All they had so far is a logo, an emblem. Pretty cool logo, but eventually they'll get uniforms and weapons. I can't wait to see what that looks like. I'm sure they're gonna be cool. I don't know whether they'll get lightsabers or what, I don't know. Looking forward to seeing that. Maybe some of you will be in the U.S. Space Force someday. New branch of our military to defend our freedoms from outside threats. All right, next one. We the people of the United States, in order to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Let's unpack that. Secure means to lock down. Right? Something that you want to keep safe or secure. Your house, you lock it. Right? Your valuables, you lock them down in a safe. Whatever. Well, it's the government's job to lock down the blessings, I think you know what a blessing is, right? Of liberty. What's another name for liberty? Anybody? Another word for liberty? Freedom. Right? It's our government's job to lock down the blessing of freedom. And here's what I love about our founding fathers. One of the reasons I admire them so much. They did it not just for themselves, but they wanted to lock down the blessings of freedom for their posterity. Posterity is those who come after you, those who come behind you. So who's their posterity? That's you. That's me. That's where we're mentioned in the Constitution, along with we the people. But we are the founders' posterity. We're the Americans that came after them. I mean, it's pretty normal for me or for you to want our freedom, right? I know I want freedom. I'm pretty sure you want freedom. That's normal. That's good. I mean, we believe the spark of freedom burns in every human heart. It's even pretty normal for me to want freedom for me and my children. Right? And it's not crazy for me to want freedom for me and my children and my grandchildren, which I don't have yet. I have a 29-year-old son who's been married for 5 years and hasn't started his family yet. I'm telling him I'd like some grandchildren. Alright, but that's not that unnormal, right? For me to want freedom for myself and my family. But this is what I admire so much about our founding fathers. They weren't just thinking about themselves and their families. They were thinking about future generations of Americans, us. In other words, they wanted to lock down that blessing of freedom for America forever. So far, so good, right? It's our government's job to do that. All right. Finally, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. So the preamble, the introduction, lists the 6 purposes of our government. So real quick, what they are: form a more perfect union. There's always room for improvement. Establish justice. We want wrongdoers to be punished. Assure domestic tranquility. We want to live in a peaceful society. Provide for the common defense. The military needs to defend us from enemies of freedom. Promote the general welfare. Did I skip that one?
Yeah.
I skipped that one. Let's go back and get that one. Promote the general welfare. I thought I missed one. Sorry. We the people, in order to promote the general welfare. General welfare means the good of everyone. Right? In other words, it's not our government's job to make decisions that is good for just one group of Americans. That's not their job. It's not their job to make decisions that are just good for rich people. You know what? It's also not their job to make decisions that are just good for poor people. It's not their job to make decisions that are just good for white people, or black people, or Hispanic people, or gay people, or whatever. It's the government's job to make decisions that are good for Americans. Promote the general welfare. When they start making decisions just designed to help one group, well, that's like saying one group of Americans is more important than another. It's not. It's not equality, right? They need to make decisions that are good for everybody. Promote the general welfare. So again, let's review the 6 purposes. More perfect union, always room for improvement. Establish justice, wrongdoers should get punished. Domestic tranquility, we want to live in a peaceful society. Common defense, military defend us from enemies. General welfare, make decisions good for everybody. Lock down the blessings of freedom forever. That's the purpose of our government. There's not 7, there's 6 purposes. Now, that's just the first sentence of the Constitution, right? The rest of the Constitution outlines how they're going to do that, how they're going to do those 6 things. Any questions on the preamble?
Could you repeat the 6 reasons?
The 6 purposes?
Yeah.
Yes. Form a more perfect union. Establish justice. Ensure domestic tranquility. Provide for the common defense. Promote the general welfare. Secure the blessings of liberty.
Thank you.